Hi and welcome back to Real Opinions. Today we're going to be covering Split, the latest film by M. Night Shyamalan starring James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy. And this film has been getting kind of quite a lot of press just because it's come out of nowhere, sort of, because M. Night Shyamalan has had a very poor run of films as of late. Not just the studio films, but the film before this was also a low-budget flick, The Visit, which some people liked it, whatever, that's your choice. But coming into Split, a lot of people were saying it's a return to form from the director. A lot of people were saying that it's really interesting, it's a genuinely good thriller, and I was relatively excited for this film. Having said that, I was disappointed by the amount of hype that it got. So anyway, what is the plot? Well, it really just follows these three girls who are kidnapped by a man called Kevin, who, right from the get-go, you realise has split personality disorder. Not only does he just have one or two, but he has 23, apparently, with a 24th being rumoured throughout the film. It's just basically about how these girls sort of play on his different personalities in order to get what they want, and to eventually try and break free. That beginning of the film, I thought was actually genuinely really great. I've seen the single room thriller numerous times, not just in the past, but very recently. It's a thing that keeps coming back. I mean, we had Green Room, 10 Cloverfield Lane this year, things like that. This provided me with something that I'd seen before, but also different. In that I liked that they were playing the captor against himself, but he didn't really realise that. That was just something that was genuinely really intriguing. And for the first half of this film, it's all really well made, it's really well acted. It was just genuinely gripping, and for the first, I'd say, half of this film, I was sat thinking, oh, all the reviews were right. I really wasn't expecting to enjoy this much. And then as it went on, it just got dumber and dumber and dumber, and frankly just left me disappointed at the end. So I'm not going to go into spoilers for it, just because I think there's no reason to. I mean, I think that, well, with a thriller, the whole point is that you're trying to guess what's happened next, so I won't go into that. I will go into which characters annoyed me and what I think was the main problem of it. A lot of people have pointed this, as saying it's M. Night's return to form. However, I would say that its most damning feature is M. Night himself. Despite having written it, I think it's a very interesting concept, but when it starts trailing off is when it starts getting into usual M. Night affair. Not just the twists, but the fact that starts off with something grounded and genuinely interesting and then goes into metaphysical stuff that just doesn't really mean anything. And while the characters talk about it a lot in the film, they all talk very vaguely, and it doesn't actually tie anything down. It just wants you to think, oh, this is interesting, this is different, but really it's not offering you anything legitimately intelligent. The main focus of this is the psychologist character, played by Betty Buckley. She is Kevin's therapist, and she specialises in split personality disorder. However, she mainly talks to him through Benny, I believe that is his name. It's a camp fashion designer character that he has in his head, and that's how she mainly talks to him. While their conversations are genuinely quite interesting because it's about her trying to decipher, is it actually Benny that she's talking to, or one of the other personalities and things like that. That stuff is genuinely interesting. However, when it's just her on her own, it's basically all expositional. Literally, at one point, she is talking for a lecture, so you are lectured at by the screen. So it's basically presenting this idea of how split personalities not only work, but how they actually affect the physical person themselves. And that is genuinely interesting. However, it's presented like it's the next evolution of humans. This could be, they're super people. Oh, that's amazing. And just, it's very stupid in the way that it sells you something that could be genuinely interesting. But for the first half, again, I'm sold with it. I'm having fun with it. Those scenes are expositional, so they are just handing you information on a plate, but I can understand that because it's good to get that information. I just think that when it went too artsy-fartsy, it was completely unneeded. And then that aspect of it only grows throughout the film. It becomes less about the real and more about the imagined. So it starts dragging out these metaphors and meanings about who he is and what he means to human race as a whole and all of that, as well as the plot of the girls trying to escape gets dragged out needlessly so, to the point where it almost becomes like a side plot to the development of Kevin himself, which could be interesting if done right. However, for the most part, they're the things that are grounding you in this film, and the whole reason that you've gotten into this is because you want to see them succeed, escape. Yeah, and then it kind of brushes them away like they're a side note. Except for the main girl, Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a good actress. I quite liked the amount of depth that they brought to her character, which I think makes it differ a lot from some of the other lesser horror flicks that we've seen recently. I like that she actually had a reason for acting the way she acts, and a difference from the standard block character. I liked that. I felt like I could see exactly where it was going the moment it started going into her past, and how that would eventually factor into the plot. It's very obvious, and I think it's just another case of a film thinking it's so smart when actually doing the dumb thing. As it gets more and more into supposedly complex topics, it actually just develops more and more little plot problems and plot holes, and just gets more and more generic as it goes along, to the point where I don't even care at the end. Going back to positives, again, I thought it was all well acted. This film would not be as gripping as it was in the good bits if it wasn't for James McAvoy. His performance all the way through genuinely had me interested. From the trailer, I thought it looked dumb as hell. I was laughing so much at that trailer, and I like that it doesn't play it straight in the film. Well, it doesn't feel like it plays it straight, like there's a tongue-in-cheek nature about it, about how, yes, we know this is stupid, that's why we're playing up the stupidity for those characters, but playing up the seriousness for other ones. And I liked that it was, it meant that it wasn't just a typical thriller horror where you just get, oh, it's dark and moody all the way through, and it just becomes even more of a drag. Here, since it's a change in tone that comes with the characters themselves, and it's the characters initiating the tone, which I think really helps, and I think made it just made the beginning that bit much more interesting than your standard film, and his scenes were those that kept me interested going throughout. And I know I said it feels like the film drops the girls to order to focus on Kevin. I can get the reason for it, because he's the central plot point, really, and he's the most interesting character going on. But I just didn't like that it dropped what it was initially going for, and that still, like, the girls attempting to escape is the whole plot of the film. Like, it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's just towards the end it just gets muddled with a lot of other stuff about Kevin. Also at the beginning, again, there were a few, they always do these with these single room thrillers, but they managed to bring a solution to a problem which I wouldn't have thought of myself, and it's genuinely when you think the characters are intelligent themselves, like they just think of a solution that you wouldn't immediately jump to, and those are the moments where I find the film clever, the little moments where it's just about a person surviving. However, as they go along, these moments get dumber and dumber, and to the point where, like I said, it becomes plot holes almost, just for how stupid the characters get near the end. It's just ridiculously stupid. One final thing, it's not a spoiler, but only people that have watched the film will understand. I absolutely hated the final moment that's like a tacked on thing. I don't want to compare it to other films that have come out recently that have done very similar thing, because that will again ruin the moment, I suppose. But I don't get why horror films have to do this now. It just felt a bit like a fuck you to the originality of the film and everything that came before it. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't piss you off too much, because I know there's a lot of people that really do love this film. And obviously you don't have a problem if you love this film. It's your film to love, but I mean, I was disappointed by how much it was overhyped, and I think that M. Night's consistent problems are still here. It's just that there's less glaring problems, and so people are willing to jump to, oh, it's brilliant. If you want to see other reviews, we have loads on the channel. We've also got the podcast that goes up here and on iTunes, and yeah, we also have social media accounts. Great.